Hello students, we are going to do transformation of sentences. What is transformation of sentence? Transformation of a sentence means changing it from one grammatical form to another without changing its sense or meaning. It is a method by which the resources of a language can be used to enlarge the scope of expression without modifying the meaning of a sentence. Now, what are the ways of transformation of a sentence? We can interchange degree of comparison. We can interchange one part of speech to another, interchange the voice, that is from active to passive, interchange of speech, that is direct to indirect, interchange of sentences, that is from affirmative to interrogative, affirmative to negative, affirmative to exclamatory, and vice versa. And finally, we have the conversion of kinds of sentences, that is simple to complex, complex to compound, or compound to simple, complex to simple. Now first we begin with the interchange of degrees of comparison. Now it is possible that you change the degrees of comparison without changing the meaning of a sentence. Now suppose we have a positive sentence like I am as strong as him. Its comparative will become he is not stronger than me. What we did over here is we changed the form of the adjective, and then to make it into a comparative we added not. Now we have another example. No other girl in the class is as tall as Alice. In the given sentence, a comparison is made between Alice and other girls in her class using the positive adjective tall. Now this same idea can be expressed using the comparative adjective taller and superlative adjective tallest. To do this, we just need to add a few words or reconstruct our sentences. For comparative, we write Alice is taller than any other girl in the class, and the superlative is Alice is the tallest girl in the class. Now let's come to some other examples. Positive sentence, no other metal is as precious as gold. Over here you can see that when we are making positive sentences, we are using as dot dot as. This phrase is used. Now this dot dot, we are actually putting the positive adjective. So, as precious as gold. Now the comparative will become gold is more precious than any other metal, and the superlative will become gold is the most precious of all metals. So we have added more in comparative and superlative the most. Now if you have to change a superlative sentence into comparative and positive, so here is the form. Delhi is one of the most populous cities in India. Now to make it into comparative, what we do, we just remove most and add more over here, and then Delhi is more populous than most of the other cities in India. And when we make it into positive, we add the words very few cities, because Delhi is one of the most populous. It's not the most populous. Okay. So very few cities in India are as populous as Delhi. Now we come to the next method of interchange. This is from one part of speech to another. That is, what are the parts of speech? Verb, noun, adjective, adverb, preposition, interjection. Okay. So here we have verb to a noun. Now, if you use a particular word as in its verb form, we can change it into its noun form and have the same meaning. I sympathize with the poor. Now, sympathize is the verb form. So, to change it, interchange it, we can use the noun form of sympathize and write, I have sympathy for the poor. Sympathy is the abstract noun. Next method is changing a noun or adverb to a verb. Do not make it public. Now, public is noun. So, public, we have to make it into the verb form. So, do not publish it. Changing a noun or adverb to an adjective. She takes pride in her beauty. So, pride is the abstract noun. So, we have to use the adjective form of pride. She is very proud of her beauty. He will certainly succeed. Now, certainly is an adverb. So, we have to change it into its adjective form, that is certain. He is certain to succeed. Now, noun to adverb. You are not walking with attention. So, attention is noun. So, you have to make it into adverb. You are not walking attentively. So, we go to the next slide. Now, it is active to passive or passive to active. Now, what actually happens when you transform into active to passive or passive to active? There are certain changes that occur in the sentences. So, the first change is the tense change. Second is the what you are going to add to the passive voice from the active voice. That is, you need to add an agent by somebody. Now, here you will see that when the sentence is in simple present tense, when we are changing it into passive, we have to add an auxiliary verb and the past participle of the verb. So, auxiliary plus V3. So, here what is the case in simple present tense? She does the homework. The homework is done by her. So, we have added an auxiliary is and the past participle of do is done. And then the agent by her. Now, when it comes to past tense, the auxiliary will become was or were plus past participle. Is the same way. Now, for continuous tenses, we have to use the auxiliary plus the verb being plus verb 3. So, here in present continuous, what will be the auxiliary is am or are plus being plus verb 3. So, she is doing the homework is being done by her. Similarly, in past continuous, it will become was or were plus being plus past participle. Example, he was doing the work was being done by him. Now, for perfect tenses, we use the auxiliary have. In all the other tenses, you see the previous ones, the simple tenses or the continuous tenses, we have used the auxiliary of be, the verb be. And here in perfect tense, we use the auxiliary verb have plus been plus past participle. So for present tense, it will be have or has according to the subject, then been, then the past participle. So the sentence is, she has done the homework has been done by her. For past perfect, it will become had. So had plus been plus past participle. For simple future tense, what will happen? We will add will or shall plus be plus past participle. So she will do the homework. The homework will be done by her. Now remember children, there is no passive voice for future continuous tense. Now for future perfect tense, what will we do? She will have done her homework. If this is the sentence in active voice, she will have done her homework. In the passive voice, the sentence will become her homework will have been done by her. Her homework will have been done by her. Now coming to the next, that is the rules for changing direct to indirect speech. So what is direct speech? The one which you quote. And indirect speech is the reported speech. So what are the changes that occur when we change from direct to indirect speech? First and foremost thing, the punctuation marks change, that is the quotation marks are removed. Secondly, the reported verb which is there in the direct speech will change its form. Third, the tense change, very important. Number 4 is the pronoun change, and number 5 is the adverb change. Okay, so what is this adverb change? Like this will become that, today will become this day, yesterday will become the previous day, like this. So here also we have different ways of writing. Now when it is when they are declarative sentences, you just have to change the reported verb and add the conjunction that. He said, I go to school every day. He said that he went to school every day. Now remember the tense change, what happens when the sentence is in simple present tense, it becomes simple past tense. When it's in the past tense, it will become past perfect tense. Now present perfect tense will become past perfect. Present continuous will become past continuous. Past continuous will be past perfect continuous. Future tense will have, that is the will or shall will become would or should. And only when it is going to, when in future tense it is, you are writing with going to, like he said, I am going to school every day, it will also remain as present progressive tense or present continuous tense, that is he said he is going to school every day. It will remain like that. Or you can also change it into past continuous. He said that he was going to school every day. Now what happens when there is a question in the direct speech? Now if the question starts with an auxiliary verb like do, did or have, whatever, then the question will be turned into an indirect question in the reported speech with the help of if or whether. See the example, he said, do you get to the school every day? He asked me. Now said will become asked because this is a question, and the reported speech as a reported verb, as I had told you, will change. Now he asked if I went to school every day. He said, when do you go to school? He asked me when I went to school. Now when the question is asked with the help of the WH words, the question of if or whether does not arrive. The indirect question also starts with the WH word. Now, when it is an imperative sentence like order, request, command, and all those things, then what happens? We have to use the infinitive, the to infinitive. He said, go to school every day. He said to go to school every day. Instead of just go, which is an imperative, we use to go, that is the infinitive. Now, in case of exclamatory sentences, what happens? The reported verb changes according to the tone of the sentence, like whether the expression exclamation is of sadness, of joy, or whatever. So you have to restriction. So you have to change your sentences according to that and put the reported verb which matches with the tone of the sentence. I'll give you an example like, hooray, we have won the match, the boys shouted. So in the reported speech, it will be the boys shouted that they had won the match. Or you can also write, the boys exclaimed with joy that they had won the match. So the word exclaimed is used over here. I'll give you another sentence. They said, comma, open inverted comma, alas, the king is dead. So here what will happen? They exclaimed with regret, or they exclaimed with grief that the king was dead. So this is how we change into direct to indirect speech, or vice versa. Now we come to the interchange of kinds of sentences, that is from affirmative to interrogative, affirmative to negative, affirmative to exclamatory, and vice versa. Now when we have to make the declarative sentence into a question, we either use the auxiliary to make a question, or we use the WH words to make a question. Blood is thicker than water. Is not blood thicker than water? And we need to add the question mark. Their glory can never fade. When can their glory fade? So over here we have used the WH word. Who would not wish to be rich? Now the question is with a WH word, so when we are making it into declarative, you see, everybody would wish to be rich. Now when we change the affirmative or the declarative sentence, a positive sentence, into a negative sentence, there are certain rules to do it. The first rule is that adding a negative prefix and not. A prefix is a small syllable that is used is added to a word to make it into its opposite, or by putting no or not before the antonym. Antonym is an opposite. This plan is practical. This plan is not impractical. So the prefix is im, and we have put a not over here to make it into an opposite of practical. That is, this plan is practical, this plan is not practical, impractical. The knife is sharp, this knife is not blunt. That is, we have used the opposite of sharp over here, blunt, and before that we have used the not. By using double negative, I am hopeful, I am not without hope. So not without are both negative words. So we have used double negative, which will make into a positive sentence. Next is by omission of adverb to. Now when we omit adverb to, it can be replaced by the phrase so plus adjective plus that. He is too clever to be deceived. He is so clever that he cannot be deceived. And then another sentence, another way of doing is, we can use words like no, sooner, dot dot, than. Now, this format can be directly transformed from its positive form, which is made by as soon as. So, as soon as the guard whistled, comma, the train started. This can be replaced by no sooner. No sooner had the guard whistled than the train started. Please mark the constructions over here. When it is as soon as, we put a comma to separate it with separate the two clauses, but when we are doing it with no sooner, there is no comma, and the word order is no sooner had the guard whistled. Now here, had the guard whistled, now you can either use past perfect tense or simple past tense. So if we use simple past tense, it will become no sooner did the guard whistle. But I have used past perfect. So no sooner had the guard whistled than the train started. Now when we go to the affirmative to exclamatory or vice versa. Now the first example is an exclamatory sentence. Oh, that I were a king. So you are expressing your wish. So what is it? I wish I were a king. I wish that I were appointed on that post. So you can write it in this way. Would that I were appointed on the post. Now the next sentence is very interesting. A soldier and afraid of death. This expresses a lot of surprise or astonishment, isn't it? That how can a soldier be afraid of death? So in that case, when we are transforming it into a declarative sentence, we have to retain the tone of the sentence or the meaning of the sentence. So we need to use the words either surprising or astonishing. It is astonishing that a soldier is afraid of death. Now we come to interchange of simple, compound and complex sentence. Now before going on to that, we need to know what is a simple sentence, what is a complex sentence, what is a compound sentence. And there is a fourth kind, compound complex sentences. This most of the time is you will not get it, but the major three kinds are simple, complex and compound. So in a simple sentence there is only one independent clause. Complex sentence has got one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. Now the dependent clauses in a complex sentence can be either a noun clause or an adverb clause or an adjective clause, which is dependent on the main clause. Now compound sentence, there are two independent clauses which are not interdependent, which are of same weight, and they can be joined with a conjunction. Now compound complex sentence has two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause. So this is a mixture of compound and complex sentence. Now how we can transform? We can change a simple sentence into a compound sentence or a complex sentence. So for this we need to expand a particular word or phrase into a clause. Now in the simple sentence, one particular word can be made into a clause or a phrase can be made into a clause. So you actually basically need to expand that word. In the same way, we can change a complex or a compound sentence into a simple sentence. So here it's just the opposite. In the other one you were expanding. Over here you need to reduce a clause to a verb or a phrase. The reason behind is that a simple sentence is just a in just one independent clause. So over here, the two clauses, the two independent clauses, or one independent clause and two dependent clauses, they have to be reduced into a word or a phrase to make it into simple sentence. Now here is a chart which shows you the examples of simple, compound and complex sentences. Now here you see, now when we make a simple sentence, we normally use infinitive phrases or participle phrases to make our simple sentence. Now, being tired, he went to bed. So, being tired, being is a participle over here. Being tired, he went to bed. Now, to make it into complex sentence, what you have to do, you will have to make a part of that sentence into a clause, into an dependent clause, and the other part will become an independent clause. So one will become one, you will have to make a dependent clause, and one an independent clause. Now that dependent clause can either be a noun clause or an adjective clause or an adverb clause. So here what we are seeing, being tired, he went to bed. So here, as he was tired, he went to bed. So the reason of his going to bed is because he was tired. Now when you are making it into compound sentence, these two compound, the simple sentence have to be reframed in such a way that you create two clauses, but those two clauses will be completely independent of each other. You just can do without one clause and it will make sense. So in a compound sentence, what you have done, he was tired, he went to bed. Now when you make a compound sentence, you just need to add these two sentences, join these two sentences with the help of a conjunction. He was tired, so he went to bed. Now having finished his work, he returned home. So here also it is a participle phrase. What is this? That after he finished his work, he returned home. So when you make it into a complex sentence, this complex sentence, the dependent clause will be the adverb clause of time. After he finished his work, that is, it is giving a time. After he finished his work, comma, he returned home. Now, please remember, when you are placing 2-3 clauses in a sentence, separate those clauses with the help of a comma. Now, that same sentence, if we make it into compound, again we will have to break that sentence, simple sentence, and make two independent clauses. He had finished his work, full stop, he returned home. Now these two clauses are completely independent of each other. They are not dependent. So he had finished his work, therefore he returned home. The last sentence, I saw a girl with blue eyes. Now with blue eyes is a prepositional phrase. Now when you change it into a complex sentence, you need to make it into an adjective clause. I saw a girl who had blue eyes. Now who had blue eyes describes the girl. So this is this is a dependent clause, and this dependent clause is an adjective which is describing the girl. In the compound sentence, what will happen? I saw a girl, she had blue eyes. So over here, how you are going to join the two? With the help of and. I saw a girl and she had blue eyes. So we come to the end of this session, and I hope you students have understood, and next time we will come with some more exercises so that we can discuss.